Let's talk about some things that you can do if you happen to be in a business that is in a maybe oversaturated or super popular or trending type of industry. And I think that these tips are universal, whether you are service based or product based, because they're about you and how you put yourself out there and just ways that you can differentiate yourself from the other people who are doing what you do, even if there are a lot of them. My first tip for standing out in an oversaturated market is to stop doing what your competitors are doing. And I know that this might be a difficult habit to break, especially if you basically set yourself up following the best practices that others in your industry have been doing. And maybe it's been working for you and it's kind of like how you got yourself set up and out there, right? But I think that once you're established and you have a really good idea of what works for your industry and your particular product and what basically is not working for you, either financially or you're just sick of doing it, then it's probably a good idea to switch things up. And I would say that this is especially so if you consider that maybe your ideal customers have been burned before by someone like your competition or by your directly by your competition. I mean, if they don't align with something that your competitor does, then using your own words and doing something different from what is typically seen in your industry will help you stand out. And I think that the most important part here is to remember to focus on their pain points. What is it that they're actually struggling with? And removing yourself from the situation. Because sometimes when we're selling things, we start to think about like, I have all this great stuff. I have these great ideas. I have this great service. And then we assume that that itself will attract people. But the thing is that people buy based on how they feel. And whenever they see you, whatever methods of marketing that you're using to get yourself out there in front of brand new people who didn't even know that you exist, how they're feeling in that moment when they happen to see you is really important. So I really suggest that you go back to your business plan, to your marketing plan, and make sure that whether you stay on social media or you keep your podcast going or you start dabbling in paid ads or mailers or anything that you choose, that you make sure that it aligns with you and that it is actually quite different from what your competition is doing. For example, a lot of the business coaches, marketing people online love to do those basically them talking into the camera and speaking very boldly, using very catchy phrases to get your attention. And personally, I don't like that. I don't like it when I'm scrolling and I'm enjoying the content that's on my phone. And then I happen to get an ad from someone who's saying, are you having trouble with it? And like they're speaking so forcefully and it's like direct eye contact into the camera. It just makes me uncomfortable. And so technically, if I was in the market for getting some coaching from somebody, I'm not going to go to them because I don't like the approach that they have, even though that says nothing about the quality of the service that they provide, but I'm making my own choices based on my own preferences, my own personality, and how I'm feeling at that moment. Another way that you can stand out from your competition in an oversaturated market is to talk to your audience as if they are a curious 9-year-old who's asking, what do you do again? And I like to use this speaking to a 9-year-old versus like the typical 5-year-old, explain it to me like I'm 5 years old type of situation that a lot of people use in the marketing industry. I like to go with 9-year-old because it keeps me from oversimplifying the struggles that I help with. And by this, I mean that a 9-year-old already has some life experience and their own kind of struggle to draw on versus a 5-year-old who's still, wide open to all the possibilities and probably doesn't have too many bad memories or bad experiences or any already cemented beliefs about the world. And by focusing on a 9-year-old, what I want you to do is use detailed examples so that they fully understand what you're talking about. And always give context and examples when you're introducing your work. So I'll give you an example. Let's say that you work with moms and you help them practice good self-care and manage their stress levels. And let's say a 9-year-old asks you what you do. You say, to them, moms are so overwhelmed, so I help them feel better. And then like a 9-year-old would be like, okay, I don't see how you would do that or why it's needed or, things like that, because they're not thinking about how their moms are actually overwhelmed and stressed. And so giving a more specific example and attaching it to whoever it is that you're talking to in the moment, in this case, a 9-year-old, you might say something like, you know how Auntie Rose is working all the time and like she's always tired, but she loves reading books and she loves reading them with you, right? And when you guys read them at night, she feels so much better. She feels really relaxed and she's laughing more. Well, here's the thing is that when she meditates regularly and when she goes on a walk with me, on most days after work, she actually feels less tired. And then that ends up meaning more fun time for her after work with you. And I know that this might sound a little more wordy and probably not as flashy as like the elevator pitch. I've never personally been a big fan of elevator pitches because I always end up thinking, okay, so what does that mean after someone says it? But then I also feel bad because I know that they probably worked really hard on it. But like, let's pretend that you and I are not experts and that we can kind of leave that to the people who are excellent at it. And let's just talk casually about what we do and give examples. Which brings me to the third tip, which is kind of related to this, which is to make the decision to go ahead and specifically address your ideal client's struggles so that they can see that you understand what they're facing right now. This is a way for you to show them that you're genuinely here to help them and you're not just here hoping to get another sale. This also means really understanding your ideal client's lifestyle, the things that they're going through when they're not even thinking about the particular struggle that you help them with. For example, if you're an esthetician and you're trying to find new customers and you're making all this social media content, you're thinking about going into paid ads, and you're trying to find people who, care about their skin and want a real long-lasting ritual for themselves. The thing is, they're not really going around thinking about their skin. When you catch them on social media, whether it's organically via your own content or via your paid ads, they're busy with something else. They're in line for something. They are surrounded by kids who are running around and being really loud, and they can't remember what they were supposed to be focusing on. And so they are just like pulled in a million directions. And then of course that stress ends up affecting them physically and it starts showing up on their face and on their skin and, all over their body. And so if you sell products, or if you're an esthetician and you sell, you have monthly appointments for facials and different kinds of treatments, then what you're doing is that you are showing them the kind of life that they want to have. It's not necessarily only about your product or your service. It's about acknowledging all the things that have led them to this point. So in the case of this esthetician, we would be saying that your marketing shouldn't be focused on the products or the price point or what they're doing wrong with their skin. Instead, you could address the issues that they're worried about. Like, are their kids getting to school on time? Are their kids being fed? Are they up to date on all of their medical treatments? Is their relationship with their partner still healthy? And so in the most ideal circumstance where all of these things are actually pretty decently aligned and they feel pretty good about how they're taking care of their kids, how they're financially stable, how they have a loving relationship, then your product or service actually fits into that because it means that they have good boundaries with their family and they're able to keep their appointment on a month-to-month basis. It means that maybe they're finally investing in themselves. Maybe they don't do anything for themselves and everything is for everyone else in their family. And so this skincare, these treatments are their way of practicing really good self-care and self-love. So you want to focus on showing them that you get what they're dreaming about. And you understand that they're going through a lot. And actually, your product or service is something that represents a certain lifestyle that they want to have. So what do your products represent? Why would the world be better if everyone was able to own one or get your service regularly? And what words would they use if they could feel better about their circumstances? The bottom line here is that it's okay to be different. You can look at your product or service in a different way, and you can set yourself apart by doing things a little differently, either based on your own personal preferences, maybe what you're kind of fed up with and what you just don't agree with, and you're giving yourself permission to not have to do it anymore. Or I think it's more out of empathy or compassion for your ideal client and understanding what they're going through, understanding that they feel unique and different, and it's okay. And that can actually be your greatest asset. So go ahead and give yourself permission to set yourself apart, try new things, see what works and what feels good, and that will help you stand out in an oversaturated market. All right, friends, that's all for today. If you liked this episode, please connect with me. I would love to get to know you. And of course, with podcasts, it's kind of one way because I'm making the content and all I see is numbers behind the scenes. Like I just see random numbers of how many people have downloaded each episode. And so I don't know who you are. And so I would love to. So please come on LinkedIn and send me a connection request and let me know what your takeaway was from this episode. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're taking care of yourself, and I will see you next time.